Andrew Huberman, a professor of neuroscience at Stanford Medical School, said that dopamine is not a chemical of happiness, but a chemical that keeps you moving toward a goal. And our brain begins activating this dopamine system from the moment we start running. Simply put, running isn't just an exercise that burns calories. It's training that builds a brain that doesn't give up. But the surprising thing is, that's not all. So what changes actually happen in our brain when we run? In 1999, the research team of Fred Gage at the Salk Institute in the United States announced a stunning result. The researchers gave mice running wheels, and a few days later, when they analyzed the mice's brains, they found that a large number of new neurons had been generated in the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory. This study was the turning point where it began to be known that running isn't merely an exercise that burns calories, but an exercise that grows the brain itself. And afterward, through countless studies, the effects of running on the brain began to come to light one by one. Especially as we entered modern society, and stress, anxiety, and depression emerged as social problems, scientists began to pay even closer attention to how running changes our brain. Among them, Professor Andrew Huberman explains that repetitive exercise like running has an important effect on the brain's dopamine system. When something hard comes up, we have an instinctive tendency to give up. But while we run, the release of chemicals like dopamine increases in the brain. These chemicals help us focus on a goal and keep us acting. So they make us choose let's do just a bit more rather than should I stop. And the more this experience repeats, the more the brain learns in the direction of not giving up easily. But to achieve a goal, simply not giving up isn't enough. You also need the power to focus on what you have to do. Running can help with improving focus, too. When you run, activity in the brain's prefrontal cortex becomes more active. The prefrontal cortex is like the brain's command center, responsible for focus, judgment, and planning. So after a run, your head feels clearer than usual, and you can focus on your tasks for longer. In fact, this is exactly why many people do light aerobic exercise like running before an important exam or task. Simply put, running is an exercise that moves the body while also waking up the brain. To achieve a goal, focus alone isn't enough either. It would be nice if we succeeded every time we tried, but reality isn't like that. Sometimes we fail, and sometimes we meet unexpected difficulties. In those moments, we also need the power to stand back up, resilience. Resilience is the ability to return to your original state even after going through stress or failure. Running is one of the few activities where you choose a hard situation for yourself. Even in the moments when you're out of breath, your legs grow heavy, and you want to stop right away, you have to move forward, one step at a time. Through this process, the brain repeatedly learns the experience of even when it's hard, if I keep going, I can overcome it. And the more this experience accumulates, the more your power to recover quickly and try again grows, even when you fail or hit unexpected difficulties. But running's effect on the brain doesn't end there. Running can actually help grow the brain itself. In our brain there's a chemical called BDNF. It helps new neurons grow, and strengthens the connections between neurons. Simply put, it's a chemical that makes the brain sturdier and helps it learn better. In fact, running is known to increase the release of this BDNF. So running isn't just an exercise that lifts your mood. It's also an exercise that helps the brain learn new things, remember, and change. In the experiment by Fred Gage's team that I mentioned earlier, an increase in new neurons was confirmed in the hippocampus of the mice that ran. In the end, running is an exercise that builds the power to not give up, raises focus, strengthens resilience, and even helps the brain grow. Hearing this far, you might think, to get these effects, do I have to run 2 hours a day? Actually, the brain responds much faster than you'd think. In a 2018 joint study by Yale University in the US and Oxford University in the UK, researchers analyzed the data of about 1.2 million people. The result: people who exercise had fewer mentally difficult days than those who don't. In particular, regular aerobic exercise including running showed a high correlation with mental health, and the researchers reported that the best results appeared in people who exercised. In other words, you don't need to run for hours every day. With just about 30 minutes of running a day, our brain can receive plenty of positive stimulation. Yet according to data released in 2024, about 1.8 billion adults worldwide are not meeting the recommended amount of physical activity. That means 1 in 3 adults isn't getting enough exercise. We see more information, handle more tasks, and live busier than ever before. Yet the movement our brain actually needs is steadily decreasing. Perhaps what modern people lack isn't a productivity app or more self-development, but about 30 minutes of movement a day. Because with it, you can take care of not only physical health, but also focus, resilience, and even brain health. What do you think? Do you think 30 minutes of running a day is worth the investment? I'd love it if you left your thoughts in the comments.